lines, you know. Corinne just snorted. I can't believe he didn't dump him first. After the whole kebab incident, I would have done. Alice sighed, regretting the fact she'd ever told Corinne about the disastrous evening when she'd got all dressed up to go out to dinner. She'd actually worn a dress, only to discover that Paul's idea of a treat was a new computer game and a greasy doner kebab. He'd flung the paper-wrapped kebab in her direction as he'd helped her nerdy flatmate set up the games console. It had landed in her lap and left an unsightly grease stain on the brand-new dress, and he hadn't even noticed when she'd disappeared into the bathroom for 20 minutes, cross with herself for welling up over something so stupid. At least Paul had tried. How could he have known that she'd been hoping for a romantic dinner rather than a boys' night in? She'd never complained before. But still... Okay, she hadn't expected him to roll up in a limo and give her the princess treatment. But being treated like a girl for once might have been nice. No wonder your luck with men is so awful, Corinne said as she pulled on a suede coat with a fur collar. You should have welcome tattooed on your stomach, because you practically lie down and invite guys to walk all over you. Alice didn't look at Corinne. She craned her neck to look at one of the entrances to the market. It was just short of 11 on a Thursday morning, not their busiest day of the week, but someone had to stop and browse soon, surely. Hopefully that would take Corinne's mind off lecturing her. I do not invite men to walk all over me, Alice said in a quiet but surprisingly defiant tone, well aware that Corinne would have no trouble kicking just about any man into line, with her pillar-box red-patterned peep-toes wedges. Vintage, of course. Corinne cocked her head to one side. Her curls bounced. You so do. It was no good. Corinne would never get it. She was vivacious and sassy, with a glint in her eye and a wiggle in her walk that could stop traffic. Alice knew that for a fact, because she'd once witnessed that same wiggle cause a minor collision down Greenwich High Street. Corinne didn't know what it was like to be as interesting to men as last year's wallpaper. And while Paul had not been Corinne's cup of tea, Alice had thought he was lovely. A little bit too into his computer games, and not one for grand gestures, granted, but she'd really liked him. She'd even thought she might have been on the verge of falling in love with him. How stupid. All the time he'd been pining for his ex-girlfriend, and had ended up going back to her. All Alice had fallen into was moping around at home, eating chocolate and feeling rejected and foolish. Sometimes when you're in a relationship you have to be prepared to compromise, she said, hoping desperately that one of the other regular stall-holders would wander over for a chat now they were all set up. No, Alice was a realist. Men weren't even going to press slightly harder on their brake pedals when she walked down the street, let alone swear undying love or promise to bring her all her dreams on a silver platter. But maybe she'd find a nice guy to settle down with eventually. She frowned. No, settle wasn't the right word. It made it seem as if she wanted to settle, which she didn't. She still had dreams. But maybe they weren't as glitzy as the next girl's. Prince Charming could keep his castle and his fairy kingdom. Alice would be happy with an average Joe who just wanted an average Jill to share his life with. But how did she explain all of that to quirky Corinne, who not only expected but demanded all-out devotion from the men in her life? Hey! An arm came round her shoulders and she smelled Corinne's lavender perfume. Just don't forget that even though relationships need compromise, it shouldn't be just you doing all the compromising, okay? That sounded fine in theory, but no man was ever going to be bowled over by her looks. And if you didn't have looks, you needed a great personality to make a good first impression. Alice didn't think she did too badly in that department, but she was a little shy, and it took her time to relax around people she didn't know and let them get to know her properly. And not many of the guys she met were willing to sit around and hang on a girl's every word unless she had the looks.